The phenomenon of Islamophobia rears its head everywhere, especially in places I wasn't expecting. We all see social media posts of racist memes and comments, but we're going to go a little deeper and briefly break down what Islamophobia looks like internally within us. Islamophobia is the irrational fear, strong dislike, hostility, or discrimination against Islam or people practicing Islam or anyone that is perceived to be Middle Eastern. Islamophobia is embedded within our community's ideologies, within our nation's ideologies. We find Islamophobia embedded within our institutions operating within white dominant culture values, which is pretty much every institution in the US, schools, media, workplaces, stores, entertainment industry, and so on and on and on. We find Islamophobia interwoven in our politics, our elected officials, our government, our religious differences. Most of what we know about Islam and Middle Eastern people is fed to us through these systems, and their programming has the power and influence to create and maintain phobias of all kinds. So what exactly is a phobia? A phobia is an intense fear reaction to a particular thing or situation or person. And in the case of Islamophobia, the reaction to fear can transform into hostility, exclusion, oppression, murder, ethnic cleansing, refusal to see what's really happening, and more. With phobias, the fear we feel is out of proportion to the potential danger. But to the person within the phobia who's actually experiencing the phobia, the danger feels real because the fear is very strong. So the fear is real, but the threat may not be real. But it doesn't matter. The more we fear something, real or imagined, and the more that fear is fed through our systems and environments, the more we consciously and unconsciously program our brains to automatically see what we see and feel as fear. And the phobia becomes a part of us and how we involuntarily operate and respond. Phobias are a response to what our brains have learned based on what we learned to fear. So how does a phobia activate within us? Okay, so we hear or see something that we have grown to feel fearful about. And then the brain's alert system triggers a false alarm, most of the time a false alarm, generating intense fear that is out of proportion to the situation. And because the fear signal is so intense, the person is convinced the danger is greater than it actually is. So when it comes to Islamophobia, an entire culture, an entire country can have the phobia because we feed each other the same narratives, and we can become convinced that a perceived danger is greater than it actually is. And when one day, we decide to wake up to the fact that we have been fed lies by the culture that formed our values and fears, and we realize how we have protected and normalized those values as our own, and how we judged and continue to judge innocent people by those values, then we're the only ones who can do something about that. And how do we start? We start by examining the vehicles, the voices, and platforms that feed our fear. Those platforms we have become addicted to. They are a part of us. And then we examine where their information originates from. What are their motives? Are there hidden agendas? Or is it just ignorance? We can choose to cut the cords that keep feeding our fear. Why would we do that? because phobias keep us from seeing people as they really are. And when we can't see people as they really are in their exquisite uniqueness, that's a strong indication that our systemic programming, specifically in the US culture, is working as it was intended. And you have the power to dismantle your own programming and create a new way of seeing and being in the world, beginning with yourself.